Free. Let me begin to give you his resume. West Point grad, served in the U.S. Army in Iraq, worked for Environmental Defense Fund in California, currently an MBA student at MIT, and doing a Harvard Master's in Public Administration at JFK.
No, that's my resume. Why don't you read John's? Yeah.
Sorry. John, welcome to the Young Turks.
Thank you very much for having me this evening.
All right, we really appreciate you coming on. Let's first tell everybody what Operation Free is.
Well, Operation Free is a national group of veterans and national security organizations that have been involved with telling America about the national security threats posed by our energy policy and climate change. Been in operation now for about almost a year, and we have about 400 veterans across the United States. Have been bus tours, hitting VFW halls, talking to politicians here on the Hill, and really telling the story and making the national security threats very real for people.
So along those lines, there's obviously a major election coming up in California, and Carly Fiorina did an ad against Barbara Boxer in one of the primaries there, saying Barbara Boxer is worried about the weather being a national security issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, I served on an advisory board on the CIA. I know what real national security is. How would you answer Carly Fiorina?
First, I have to say, Mrs. Fiorina and I are both, she's an alumni of MIT as well, so it saddens me to see her confuse weather with climate, which are two very different phenomena. We experience the weather. You don't experience the climate, you know, on a minute-by-minute basis. This is something that occurs over large areas and over long periods of time and affects us greatly. I mean, it's not a rainstorm, and I think she's manipulating the public's misunderstanding of it. Of course,
she's trying to dumb it down.
And
she's trying to dumb it down. And not only is she manipulating that, she's also manipulating the fact that she hasn't won the nomination yet, and she's already running against the incumbent. She's in a primary against Tom Campbell and Cliff DeVore, or Chuck DeVore, and that's a big problem in and of itself. But listen, let's call her the presumptive nominee because I suspect she will win. It is really bad, misinformed politics because she's showing the oil spill and saying that the Boxer's not paying attention to it because she's worried about the weather. And America needs to understand that this isn't weather, like you just said. And what is Operation Free doing something to make that happen? I mean, is that part of your mission with Operation Free, to try and get people to understand that it's not just weather and to not allow it to be dumbed down in that way?
It is part of our mission. You know, it's certainly not just weather, but it's a lot more than just worrying about the climate. Even from our standpoint as combat veterans, this is a national security priority for the United States of America. When we look at climate change, we're looking at increased famines, increased droughts, mass mobilizations of people that are going to destabilize already, you know, dangerous areas of the world, you know, creating havens for terrorists to take charge of big populations of people when their governments fail. And this is a huge threat for the United States and for our allies.
And it's a military distraction to us when it happens here, too, because we have to send the military to places where they don't really need to be.
Exactly. Well, in addition to that, we have huge humanitarian crisis. And this isn't just Operation Free saying this. This is the Department of Defense and their recent quadrennial defense review saying that, yes, climate change is something that is going to pose a significant threat to the United States, and we need to be prepared to deal with it. It's the CIA.
John, you know, from my estimation, one of the biggest problems with energy policy is that we keep invading countries to get energy sources. In my opinion, that was a large part of the reason Dick Cheney precipitated the war in Iraq. But when you get to the climate change's effects currently, I mean, are we seeing anything yet in terms of destabilizing any government and that's effect on us, or are you worried about something that might happen later? Well,
if we look at sub-Saharan Africa, I've talked to a couple of people who've been involved in economic development and government in that part of the world, and I would say it's a resounding yes. The governments of arid regions of sub-Saharan Africa and of, you know, what do we call rainforest regions are experiencing very, very dramatic shifts in their rainfall patterns. We see shifts of crops, people who our subsistence farmers are having to move in order to maintain the rain cover that they need. And this is, if you remember the conflict in Rwanda, what we're seeing in Darfur and the Sudan, this could really be the beginning of the iceberg of the types of conflicts that could precipitate if we don't take action quickly.
Now, if somebody listening to that, I'm just going to play devil's advocate with you. Okay, so Rwanda and Somalia were in one it was two different tribes, and one it was a dictatorship and religion. How is a change in climate going to create something? How am I to believe you that, well, a change in climate in Saharan Africa, in the Central African Republic, because there's a change in climate, we're going to have war? I mean, to compare those, bring me into that a little more.
Well, I think we can all understand the lengths to which people will go to secure the resources they need to live. Water, arable land, in the United States, oil, coal, natural gas. Yeah. But the people in the poorest regions of the world, they need water.
Right.
When their water supply dries up because of dramatic shifts in the climate, they could very well invade a neighbor to secure water rights, to secure a river, to secure a spring that they didn't have to rely on before.
Do you know anything about the situation? This is slightly off topic. I mean, maybe it's not. That's why I ask it. Do you know anything about the water situation in Israel and the occupied territories, and is that playing a role in any of this?
I wouldn't say that it's not playing a role. I don't know the details of it myself. Personally, I would suspect that, yeah, the Israelis moved in and did develop they developed the aquifer there, and they've tapped it and created a lot of well-developed wells. Is that playing a role? I couldn't say.
Okay, yeah, I know. I just put you on the spot there, and I don't know the answer either. But I want to ask, what's the objective of Operation Free? Is it just mainly to educate folks on it, or is there a specific goal? Like you say, hey, you know what, let's do X and Y.
Our goal right now is to convince the American people to call their senators, to right now support the American Power Act that was sponsored by Senators Kerry and Lieberman, and drafted along with Senator Graham of South Carolina. Our goal is to force the American Congress to act, to set up America to succeed and to lead in the 21st century, and to hopefully be the winners in the race to a low-carbon economy.
All right, you just said Lieberman and Graham are sponsors, so I'm gonna be slightly skeptical. So what's in the American Power Act?
Well, right now the American Power Act would really support the development of across-the-board energy solutions, from investment in development in renewables such as wind and solar, to expanding our nuclear base load, which I know some people have a problem with, figuring out a way to actually burn coal cleanly, right, which strikes the heart of me. I'm from West Virginia. And if we can figure out a way to burn it cleanly, we may allow the state to have a better transition to a future economy. But it's an across-the-board effort.
But how do they do that? Like, what's the specifics? Is it assigning money to new projects? What?
It does. It assigns money to R&D for some. It assigns taxes to some sectors. It's not a one-size-fits-all policy. It looks at different sectors of our energy economy and applies a different methodology. In some places, it's a tax. In some places, it's direct subsidies. In parts of it, it actually refunds the tax money to the Americans at large, what some people call a cap and subsidy approach that will hopefully reduce the impact on low-income consumers of energy in America.
Right.
But it's a very broad-based, and it's certainly not one. It's not just a cap-and-trade program that's meant to attack it all.
And what are the prospects for this now? I mean, how is it looking? I know that a lot of people people have been skeptical about this legislation's success because of the prioritization on the part of the administration, and that people are belly aching about that now. Where does it stand now from where you're sitting?
From where I'm sitting,
call your senators.
Call your senators.
Yeah.
This is important. I think it can pass. Is it the trend going up or down? I don't keep my thumb on the pulse in Capitol Hill. I spend my time out talking to folks, and I'm in grad school, like you said. So I have a decent amount of work to do, but we can make this happen. You call your senators and tell them that this is something that's going to be good for America.
We're talking to John Gensler from Operation Free. John, we had a giant stimulus bill, and my understanding was there was a lot of money assigned there to clean energy. Was there? And where did that money go? And how is it different than the America Power Act?
There was a lot of money in the Recovery Act to stimulate clean energy development. I'm actually getting ready to work at an agency. The Department of Energy has a lot of money they haven't given away, is dedicated to providing new funding. What the American Power Act does that is different. It's a different type of funding, but we're also placing a price on carbon in large sectors of the economy, which, aside from just throwing money or giving money to companies to develop new technologies, this is signaling to the market that private money should be going in now. It's giving a long-term signal to entrepreneurs that have driven American economy for 230 years.
Yeah.
Sending them a signal, hey, now's the time to put your own money. This is going to be where the business is going to be.
Right. John, we just have about 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. Where can people go to find out more about Operation Free?
You can go to our website, www.operationfree.net.
.net. Okay, John Gensler, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, John. It was a pleasure. Thank you.